Thank you, Chairman Corker. Thank you both for being here, and thank you for your service. I want to follow up on Senator Menendez's point because, to me, it's absolutely critical. We have done nothing since we left Iraq with pulling all of our troops out to demonstrate in the past 18 months exactly what our commitment is, in my judgment. You mentioned the Ukraine. There were conversations about that, about whether or not we back the right people in the Middle East, whether or not we would confront Iran in terms of its nefarious activity. But you know, I remember from my business career, the best deals I ever made were deals where I first walked away from the table before I came back, because I found out how bad the other guy really wanted to make a deal. And the worst deals I ever made was when the deal was more important to me than common sense. And I worry we're getting into a situation where we would not walk away. Have you heard credibly, either one of you from your positions, of some of the conversations the Iranians have said, like we won't allow military bases to be inspected, or we're not going to allow this, or we're not going to allow that? Aren't those the type of things they should know we will walk away from immediately, and shouldn't we have made that statement definitively so it's without question?
We have heard these statements. I've heard, for example, the deputy negotiator to Zarif, Arachi, has, in conversations that did come to our attention with the parliament in closed session in Tehran, say that, in fact, maybe some of these things are negotiable with the Americans. So I think it's still in play. Again, that's the problem we have because we haven't seen the agreement in its final form yet, Senator. But certainly, those are very, very important points. You do not have full eyes on, which supposedly is critical, and it is critical to this agreement, if you cannot visit military installations and if you cannot interview their scientists and other technical officials. So that's very, very important. And this is something that the administration should insist on. And if they don't get it, then they should either walk away or wait until they do get it.
We must be believable in our negotiation, or we'll get taken. That's the point that I want to make. Secondly, on what Senator Perdue raised, is not the Russian, it's the 300, isn't it? Surface, S-300. Yeah. Isn't the S-300 capable of carrying a tactical nuclear warhead?
I don't believe so, Senator. And again, it's a surface-to-air system. In theory, surface-to-air systems can be refigured to carry nuclear warheads, but frankly, Iran has a really disturbing arsenal of long-range missiles. That's why we're putting the missile defense systems into Europe, some 4,000 miles away. They have missiles that either can or soon will be able to go that far, which is further, I think, than the S-300 will fly. So its basic threat is to shoot down our aircraft and cruise missiles.
Let me ask both of you a question, because I have tremendous respect for your ability and what your service to the country and your knowledge, which I certainly don't have. Let me just ask you this. What do you fear the most about making a deal with the Iranians or not making a deal with the Iranians? What should our biggest concern and fear be?
In terms of making the deal, I think there are two major concerns which we've been discussing. One is that they will cheat. They've cheated before on their obligations on the Non-Proliferation Treaty. We've seen in the case of Korea that they got away with cheating and built a nuclear weapon. So that's got to be the concern within the deal, to make sure that they don't have that ability. And I agree with you that if we don't get that, we should be prepared to walk, and that you're absolutely right in any negotiation, as you pointed out, but particularly a negotiation with Iran, being ready and willing to walk away if we can't get our minimum requirements is critically important to the negotiations. And I think that these statements that they've been making, which actually do not accord with the things that they've already agreed to in the negotiating room, is an indication that they are posturing for their public, and that their public, that they have a problem with their public opinion. They've raised the expectation of the public opinion there, that there's going to be a deal on their terms. And so I think that actually we have a better ability to walk away than they do at this point. And so that we're in fact in a stronger position if we focus on the issues within the parameters of the deal and make sure we get what we need in that regard. The second problem is outside the deal. And we've discussed that already this morning, which is how do you contain and roll back their activities in the region? You can't do that as part of the deal, but you're going to have a strategy to deal with it alongside the deal.
Senator, in terms of a deal, the thing that I'm most worried about is that we'll wind up looking like we keep on making compromises, and therefore we're seen as either weak, and that has a huge impact on our ability to deter them in the region, or people will think that the U.S. government actually believes that this deal will change the tune in Tehran, and that they will be potential status quo power or a potential partner in regional security, and I think that's very worrisome. Now, in fairness, you said, what do you worry about either with a deal or without a deal? And having taken a few hits at the deal, here is one of the things that the deal will give us. It will give us more international support. This is important for two things. First of all, the international sanctions, and they're the most effective ones, do hinge on a good relationship between us, the EU, and some of the other players, including China in particular as an Iranian oil importer. But secondly, I've several times cited the importance of us being willing to use military force. Our experience has been, sadly, that when we didn't have international support for us, Iraq and Vietnam being two examples, we had a much harder time. And therefore, international support is a value that you do get in this agreement. It has to be balanced against other ones, possibly sending a signal of weakness, possibly people questioning our deterrence in Tehran. But nonetheless, there is a certain value to an agreement if it's verifiable and if it does give you the 1 year time before they could break out.
So I'll just follow up. So to understand, a good deal, in the definition of your definition and mine of a good deal, which is a good deal for the American people and the people of the Middle East, would be preferable than not making a deal because it would raise our stature with the international community? Is that what I heard you say?
No, sir. There is no good deal at this point. A good deal would be no enrichment. A good deal would be they're out of the business of having a nuclear weapons threshold capability. So it's a question of a bad deal that may be better than a set of other circumstances, or perhaps living with the other circumstances. One of the things that the deal does give us is the ability to mobilize the international community if Iran breaks out, and that ability to mobilize the international community typically has been very successful when we've had to use military force, such as in Korea in 1950 or in Kuwait in 1991.
Thanks to both of you very much.